Title: AITA for not letting my stepmom be buried with my dad. When I, 24 meters, was very young, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. He survived, but it was very close, and my mum bought a 3-person burial site in our local cemetery just in case he died, so that one day we could be buried together. About 5 years after his cancer scare, my mum died in an accident at work. Pretty much immediately after my stepmom came into the picture. It was pretty clear from the get-go that she was only interested in dad because of mum life insurance plus the accidental death payout. She had 2 kids from prior marriages, dad was her 3rd. My dad was devastated from losing mum, and I think he just saw my stepmom as an easy person to comfort him. I absolutely do not blame his for the shit she put me through. My preteen and teen years sucked because of her. I was continuously bullied by her kids and her. I wasn't allowed to join sports teams or socialize after school. If I wasn't studying, then I was cleaning, and if I protested, then I would go without meals. My dad died about 8 years after mum did, and my stepmom immediately kicked me out. I was only 15 at the time. There was a huge fight over my dad's assets because he left almost everything to me. Long story short, she has just died. Her children have approached me and asked that she be buried next to dad and mum. I have refused. They're now lambasting me all over SM and to mutual friends, accusing me of being mean and that she was dad's wife and should be buried next to him. Title: AITA for sending my husband to his dad's because he wouldn't let our daughter help me cook. My husband and I get along like a house on fire. We love each other and talk constantly about what's best for our family. He's recently went back to work. He's a chef, and I'm still on furlough. I co-manage a bar. I cook from scratch every day. I've recently let the little one, 3 in March, scoop the chopped up food into the cold pot. Chopped up carrots? She giggles and scoops then into the pot. Mushrooms. Giggles and scoops them into the pot. Onions. Giggles and scoops then in. I wash her hands after. Husband was home 4 nights ago watching us, making sarky little comments, she's too young, and, you're cooking them wrong, etc. He tried to get her to play with her blocks, which are her favorite toy at the moment, and she said to him, "No daddy, we do dinner, don't be nasty." He hasn't spoken to me properly since then. His dad has emailed me saying I should take the lead from my husband, since he knows best. His brothers have texted saying I should just pick my battles. I told him if he couldn't have an adult conversation with me, he should go and stay with his daddy. He left a couple of hours later, told me he would stay with his dad. He told our daughter he had to go to work. She was happy. I think I'm totally in the right. My little one wants to help. She is very proud of herself when dinner is ready because she helped cook it. I do kinda feel bad because I know how chefs can be. Title: Update: AITA for getting frustrated with my mom for being in the kitchen at the same time as me. Original post here. I got a much bigger response on my original post than I ever thought I would. A couple hours after I posted it, I realized I left a lot of information out and wanted to clarify some things, as well as provide an update on the situation. Some people asked if I pay rent or own the house. It's my parents' house, and I don't pay rent. I can't afford to move out right now, and my parents don't want to let me move out until after my first year of uni. Some people also asked if I'm autistic. I have ADHD, which shares a lot of traits with autism. I stick to a strict routine because it's the only way I'm able to remember to do everything I need to in the morning. A lot of people suggested packing my lunch at a different time, or even the night before. I had tried this before. No matter what time I went into the kitchen, my mom followed. I tried it again a couple times since making the post, and she continued to follow me. I took the advice of some people who told me to try going into the kitchen as usual, but to leave when my mom got in my way and tell her I'd wait until she was finished. I even made sure the kitchen was spotless the night before. Dishwasher emptied, no dishes in the sink, counters wiped down, and trash emptied. She followed me in, and when I said I'd wait, she said she was done. Almost as soon as I went back in, she followed me in again and claimed she had forgotten to do something. A lot of people pointed out that she might just want to spend time with me, which I hadn't thought of before. I think that maybe me getting a job, finishing high school, and starting to work towards getting my driver's license made her realize I'm growing up and won't be dependent on her, living at home for much longer. Maybe she just wants to spend as much time with me as she can before I go, or maybe she doesn't feel as mom as she did before. What finally worked was, after dinner a couple nights ago, asking her to pack some leftovers from dinner in a separate container for me to take for lunch the next day. She seemed really happy that I asked, and didn't follow me into the kitchen the next morning. She even left a sticky note with a smiley face on top of the container. I also asked if she could drive me to work, which gave us the chance to chat and catch up in the car. I think she just missed feeling like I need her, which I always will. Even though we butt heads sometimes, she'll always be my mom, and I think I just needed to find a way to remind her of that. I wrote my original post feeling super frustrated at my mom, but I teared up a bit finishing this update. Title: AITA for offending someone who assumed I was trans. I, 25F, recently started a new job. During the whole application and interview process I communicated with the same person, the office manager, Susan. We had a couple of messages on email and she conducted my Zoom interview. I got my job offer a couple of weeks ago, and have been WFH for the company ever since. At the end of last week, I had an email arrive from someone representing the company's LGBTQ group. This was the national group representing my company. I work for them in a regional capacity, saying that I had a standing invitation to join them in their next Zoom chat, if only to meet other LGBTQ people at the company and have a conversation with them. I am a cis heterosexual woman. I replied saying that while I'd love to join them as an ally, there had been some kind of miscommunication, as I'm not LGBTQ. I got a quick response to that apologizing, saying that my name had been passed on to them as a new transgender employee. The only time I've discussed sexuality has been on the anonymous Equal Opportunities form that I submitted alongside my initial application, which stated that I was straight and cis. A couple of hours after that, I got called to an emergency meeting with Susan. When I entered the call, she practically screamed at me that I'd misled her. I asked how, and she said that she and the entire hiring team had assumed that I was transgender because of the fact that I put my pronouns into my email signature. If anything, I do this because it will make whoever I'm communicating with feel sure in the pronouns that I use, and saves them from having to ask, which is something that I believe should be commonplace, but that's just me. I reiterated this to Susan, and said that I'd never tried to mislead anyone. She said that she'd only seen trans people feel the need to mention their pronouns before, and that when my face appeared on the Zoom interview it could have realistically been a trans woman, so she continued on with her assumption. She also hinted at the fact that my supposed gender identity had resulted in a big swing in my favor over other candidates, and some of the hiring team now feel like I should be let go, as I wasn't the best applicant on skill alone. I've double-checked since, and while the company can fire me without cause for the next year or so, since a protected category, sex, has been identified as a potential factor, I'd have recourse to challenge them on that if they were to terminate my contract in the very next future, because while you can't fire someone based on their gender identity, you also can't hire someone solely based on your perception of it either. She ended the call by saying that this wouldn't be going any further right now, but on behalf of the trans employees at the company, she was very offended at my choices. I'm not going to ask about if I should stay in the job, not the right sub, and also I barely have to talk to Susan now, so hopefully the drama will just die down. But was I wrong for immediately presenting myself in a way that could lead someone to assume that I was transgender? Edit. Thank you to everyone for responding. I have realized that this is a greater issue than just this instance, and will be following the advice to create a paper trail to document this further before taking my next steps. On another note, if you're going to take the time to message me calling me fake and both a SJW and a TERF, I mean why, then please know I'm not going to waste any energy on you.